call this November 17th, 2015 meeting of the NATRONA County Board of Commissioners to order. Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Hendry.
Here.
Commissioner Keating.
Here.
Commissioner Lawson.
Here.
Commissioner Slaughter.
Here.
Chairman Chapman.
Here. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Does anyone wish to pull anything for discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I now declare the public hearing open for the consideration of notice of intent to adopt rules governing county support for service districts. The hearing will be conducted in accordance with state statutes, rules of the NATRONA County Commission, and other applicable laws. I would ask that those individuals who wish to address the commission to approach the lectern state your name and address. May we have a report from staff?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, these, as you said, are proposed rules governing the county support for improvement in service districts.
Heather, we can't hear you, honey. Better.
Is that better? There we
Better.
go.
It must be something wrong with that one.
Yeah, because when she wiggles it, it works.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. These are proposed rules governing county support for improvement in service districts. They were published just over 45 days ago. To my knowledge, we have only received one public comment not in favor of the rules. That was via email today. I'm not aware of any other public comment either for or against. The draft that you have in front of you, I do have some proposed changes that I would recommend adopting, and I'll go through this for you if you'd like. There are some typographical changes and errors. Another proposed change would be to change roadways throughout the rules to actually roads, so that it's consistent with the defined term within the rules. Third proposal would be to add language in section 4A, starting a sentence up to $5,000 for the legal costs associated, and also adding the same language to section 4B up to $25,000. And in section 4B, they're proposed to add up to $25,000 to be used as a 50-50 matching funds for any grant. Let's see here. Another proposal that I would like to offer to the board would be to change section 7D, change the reference from work session to a public meeting for the decision on any application, as we can't take action at a work session. It has to be at a public meeting. Proposal to delete section 9 in its entirety, and then renumber the remaining sections accordingly. And if you need any clarification for those proposed changes, please let me know. Or if there's any questions regarding the rules, I'm happy to take those.
Okay. On 7D, and that's typically where we do make those decisions. It is in a work session.
Mr. Chairman, that is correct. I didn't want there to be any confusion, however, and just wanted it to state that it would be at a public meeting rather than at a work session, as it said.
Well, but a work session is a public
It would have to be at a regularly scheduled meeting like this at the 5:30 time to take any action.
We can talk about it then.
You are correct, sir, that a work session is a meeting, but it's an informational meeting. That's how we've always treated them, but we don't take any formal action at the work session.
Questions for Heather? No?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Keating, I am not sure if there is or not. I know that the road and bridge superintendent will have some input and administrative responsibility when it comes to these roads, and he may be better able to answer those types of questions.
And we do have Mr. Hendry here. I believe what the thinking is that if we included that language, then that would require engineering. And the engineering would eat up a substantial amount of the funds available to actually do road work. And so that county road standards would not be a requirement. And that, however, it would need to pass muster with our road and bridge superintendent. In other words, he has to say, yeah, this makes sense, or no, this does not make sense, what they're proposing. Anything we need to add to that, Mike, is?
Fine.
Okay. Okay, any other questions? Okay, at this time, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in favor of the notice of intent to adopt rules governing county support for service districts to please approach the lectern. And for the second time, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in favor of the notice of intent to adopt rules governing county support for service districts to please approach the lectern. Please state your name and
William Garbutt, 12900 Henry Roadway. We've had an improvement district roughly 10 years now. The county has helped. Any extra help would sure go a long ways on getting the road done. Mr. Angler has been great to work with from time to time to help us with our road and everything we need to do. At once upon a time, Henry Roadway was county maintained. That changed several years ago, but I don't know why or anything. My feeling was that it states it's public access, it should be public maintained or at least helped for public maintained. The right way through there does say public access, not county maintained. So I'm in favor for it. Thank you.
okay, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Garbutt? Okay, thank you. I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in favor of the notice of intent to adopt rules governing county support for service districts to please approach the lectern. And for the third and final time, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in favor of the notice of intent to adopt rules governing county support for service districts to please approach the lectern. At this time, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in opposition of the notice of intent to adopt rules governing county support for service districts to please approach the lectern.
I guess I'll go first. Get the ball rolling, as they say, huh, boys? Good evening, Commissioners. Commissioner Chadwick. I'm here to speak against this proposed item, and my reasons are simple math. $250,000 of the 1 cent funds will not make a dent in the problems with our county roads. If you divide this up into $25K a road matching grant, that is 10 roads that may get some help if they are in a service district only, and can come up with the cash from the residents to get the matching grant. I find the selective repairs being done with everyone's 1 cent funds. I think this proposal has been around the county, and I think a lot of folks up here tonight, and they've seen it. There's no mistake that our roads are in poor shape, just as the university has said it. Second, doing something like this leaves much poorer areas and residents who are not part of a service district left out in the cold for their roads. And really, is this not these people that need the most help? Antelope Hills, Harvey Lane, Homa Hills. From what I understand, you are required as a county to maintain all county roads, just not a particular few. So with this, I would say you need to get your priorities straightened out and use the 1 cent monies for all the roads in the county. The money this commission has wasted over the years is astounding. from propping up non-governmental agencies in their utopia dreams of economic development, to donations made to other organizations that the voters have not agreed on to let their tax dollars be used for. Seems the commission enjoys bypassing the voters on a lot of issues, and this needs to stop. A lot of changing, but the county is changing, and I don't know if you then understand the money will not always be there for these pipe dreams, and we need to work and maintain the roads we already have now. I would urge this board to deny this change and do a little line item budget and see where you can cut the fat and start doing what you were told with our 1-cent funds when we voted for it this time. This was the roads. I believe Mr. Hendry had promised this during his election, that he would spend more money on roads this year. It's time to put your money where your mouth is. Thank you.
At this time, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in opposition of the notice of intent to adopt rules governing county support for service districts to please approach the lectern.
Excuse me. Mr. Chairman, Paul Penn, 2781 Cherokee Lane. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I rise in opposition to this change in the rules for a couple of very simple reasons, basic reasons. Obviously, we're in an economic downturn right now. Why we will be considering looking at spending money on privately owned roads rather than taking care of the county roads is just totally beyond me. And as Ms. Jones has stated, I know one of Mr. Hendry's goals in this campaign last year that he stated as a goal was to improve and enhance county roads. Mr. Chairman, these are not county roads that we're talking about. They may be public roads, but they're not county roads. There's a difference. And county money should be spent on county roads. I recall just over a year ago when there was a conversation when there was going on about the zoning change out on Salt Creek there, where the residents back in Handy Lane and down or whatever the name of that road, and those roads back in there, asked about getting some help on their roads, and the answer was they're not county roads. They're not county roads. We can't help on that. You know, our current the current rules that you're attempting to change do offer certain limited assistance in these roads, and it's spelled out. They were like that for a reason, where we can help, spread some gravel, do things like that, and give some support in that area. But when you look at the study that came out in May from the University of Wyoming, that was done through them, and you look at out of our paved roads in the county, in NATRONA County, we have 13% that are in poor condition, 78% in very poor condition. 91% of the roads, the paved roads in this county, are either in poor or very poor condition. So much so that it has been mentioned more than once by this board that the consideration has been given to tearing up these paved roads and making them gravel, or so that it would be easier and less expensive to maintain, because we don't have the money to do that. Mr. Chairman, it really boils down to, we can go through a lot of different things in here. But what it boils down to is you have people out in these smaller little areas that they may not have a service district established. These trailer courts off of Salt Creek there, and the roads are horrendous. You can lose a garbage truck or something rolls up there. But the county is unable to, it just doesn't even go in there with a blade to help them out at all. What you're going to do here is you're going to help people that have the ability to come up with some matching funds. These people in these poor districts they're not going to have that. They're not going to have to do that. So what you're doing is you're helping the people that need it the least, is who you're helping the most. If I may just conclude, Mr. Chairman, I know the buzzer went off.
Please do.
Okay, thank you. Just in conclusion, here we are sitting. I say we're in an economic downturn. Just as a brief recap here, we're in an economic downturn. Our revenues are low. I just cannot see that when 91% of our county roads, our paved county roads, are in poor or very poor condition, that we should be even considering at this point in time, setting money aside to be used on privately owned roads. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Pack? Thank you. At this time, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in opposition of the notice of intent to adopt rules governing county support for service districts to please approach the lectern.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tom Walters, 14700 Highway 220, Casper, Wyoming. Just find it strange that you're struggling to maintain your own county roads, and yet you're willing to give some money away to special service districts to try and help them out. I know you've gone before the SLID board looking for money on a certain project here in the county because you feel you don't have enough money to work on that project, and yet here's this extra money that you're going a different direction with that's non-county related in my mind. These are folks I recognize, they're county taxpayers and such, but this is not a county road. These aren't county roads. Fix your own county roads first, and if there's extra money, then I'd say then go after it. But based on conversations we've had in previous meetings, it doesn't appear to be any extra money, so I'm not sure why you'd go this direction. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Walters? Thank you. At this time, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in opposition of the notice of intent to adopt rules governing county support for service districts to please approach the lectern.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Drew Perkins, 1133 Granada, Capital, Wyoming, 5601. To some degree, I've read this with some interest, and I came down in part, Mr. Chairman, because I saw your wonderful interview on television here a week or so ago, and this whole thing was a little bit curious to me, Mr. Chairman, when I was on the county commission, and you made, Mr. Chairman, made a declaration that you thought that all these public roadways are out there were indeed were qualified as county roads because they were dedicated to the public. And business mother of the commission, that was. I understand that your county attorney had kind of made that indication to you. I can tell you that back when we were doing this a number of years ago, when we did the same thing, our county attorney looked at us and we had the same discussion, and we came to a different conclusion. And ultimately, in the rules governing county support for public roadways, you see A, B, and C, and that was kind of always the designation that we had operated under. I recognize I don't get a vote on the commission anymore, but the private road, public road, and county road was the distinction that we had made that you see in your own rules there, and that was the distinction to be a county road. It had to go through the process of being declared a county road and accepted, and just because a developer decides to have a subdivision and create public assets, which they're required to do under the subdivision and zoning rules, doesn't mean that the county has a responsibility to maintain that road. Again, when I see that the county roads are in a little bit worse condition when we were there, I don't know that I did a lot when I was a commissioner to make it any better. When those dollars are so precious and the needs are so great, it's a little bit curious that you take away, you divert from county roads out to other, basically would be either private or public roads that are dedicated to public but are not county roads, to use those very precious funds to service those more private interests. And so with that, it's a little bit of a question I think that a lot of us have of why we would do that at this point when we're not county roads. It's a tough deal. I know how tough it is and how tough it is to make those things, but this would seem to exacerbate the problem as opposed to help it. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. Perkins?
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Perkins, when you and I had spoke briefly, you mentioned something about East Hendry Road and how the existing rules had been used. Can you expand on that?
Well, I seem to be that I remember on East Hendry Road, and maybe Commissioner Winger, thank you, sir.
It's a compliment.
Thank you, Ms. Dixon.
you know, I start getting old in minds. Anyway, but Commissioner Keating, you may remember that, because I think maybe you were there. We had tried to do some grading out on the East Henry Road and had done some work out there. And we had taken gravel from, they were breaking up the refinery down here. We crushed the gravel and took it out there and spread it out, and that we did. Well, it turned out the guys who crushed the gravel didn't run the magnets with it, with rods and that stuff. And we had all kinds of flat tires, and it was a mess. And so we, you know, as people would come in, we had actually, you know, in some cases we actually repaired the tires because we were the ones that put the metal rods in the road and some things like that. In doing that, my recollection of the East Henry Road, isn't that county road something or other?
Well, wasn't it, Senator, was it mostly Gary Dome?
Gary Dome.
Gary Dome, I'm sorry, you're right, it wasn't East Henry, it was Gary Dome. It was Gary Dome Road out there out there in Cold Creek and down that way. And, you know, it's tough. I mean, you know, when people move into the county, they are upset when they can't drive their BMW at 50 miles an hour down on gravel, dirt roads, and are upset when they get some dings or they have some problems. But ultimately, it's a tough way to do it. I know that when Mr. Hagan, we were trying to at some point designate some stretch of road to work on every year. If it was just a mile or two, we're just trying to get something done because they just continue to deteriorate. Hopefully, you know, there should be some additional money with between the farm to road, the farm to market program, and then the additional county gets some portion of the additional 10-cent gallon tax. Some of those things. I mean, as you do that, it's a tough job. There's a lot more road than there is money. I know that, but trying to find some program to do that and trying to work on a regular basis in addition to maintain, you know, it's tough. And, you know, I remember how tough it was when we were there. So, I don't know if that's helps at all. Anything else, Mr. Chairman?
You know, there was some promise, of course, needing to remember the wording exactly, but there was some promise in the 1 cent that some monies would be set aside, I think, for improving roads, I think, home improvement service districts.
Well, you know, and I think that's, you know, the reasons that people voted for the 1 cent and the reason people voted against the 1 cent, I think are varied. But I think the expectation is that the 1 cent gets used for, you know, doesn't get used for operations, it gets used for, you know, either purchases of equipment. It doesn't get absorbed into operations. And I know that the city of Casper County is long held and been pretty true to that purpose. And so a lot of people, you know, anticipate, and certainly the city of Casper uses their 1 cent, a lot of that for roads and sewer construction projects like that. So, you know, I think that there is an expectation among the public that the 1 cent does get used for some of that, you know, for roadways and making sure that we've got the public works in the kind of shape that they can be used.
Well, I guess maybe I need to make the question more specific. I guess the only thing really drawing me towards support of this was that promise more specifically for the 1 cent was for the home improvement service district.
Well, you know, I think that's that might be one. I mean, the issue that comes to that is that the home improvement districts have the ability to levy some upon themselves, and in some cases, though, those are essentially the same as taxes to tax themselves. There certainly is people. It's always nice to be able to help people. They're willing to help themselves, and so when you match that, you can get a double bang for your buck. At the same time, you know, the gosh, as you drive right through the county, they're just in such rugged shape in so many places. The one we were talking, I think I remember now, Commissioner Slaughter. I think what it was that we had that there was an emergency situation out on, was it East Henry Road where the irrigation, there was a flood and the irrigation ditch had ruptured and it washed out the road, and we went out there and we cooperated with the irrigation district or road improvement service district, and we bought materials, and I think they did the work so that we could put in and restore the irrigation as a part of that, because there were some county issues with respect to maybe why that had occurred. And so we cooperated, and I think we bought piping and some other materials, gravels and things like that. And then the district did some work, but it was to repair what had been, I think, a washout, there had been a flood, a cloudburst of some sort, and I think the grading in our road, the final in the ditch, and then the ditch burst and like that. So I remember. That's a long time. Anything else, Mr. Chairman?
I don't believe so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Perkins. At this time, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in opposition of the notice of intent to adopt rules governing county support for service districts to please approach the lectern. And for the third and final time, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in opposition of the notice of intent to adopt rules governing county support for service districts to please approach the lectern.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Ed Holthouse. I live at 2025 South Cedar, Casper, Wyoming. I'm here to speak against the proposed change. I'm going to pray for it. We deal with this problem every day. And part of the reason I'm speaking against it is because of your definition and Fannie Mae's definition are different. Fannie Mae's definition is they want to know who owns the roads. And part of these people's problems is when they go to refinance, we're told to determine whether that road is public or private. Fannie Mae defines it as to who has ownership of that road. Just because I put in a subdivision and I dedicate access to the public, that doesn't make that a public road. The bigger issue with Fannie Mae is maintenance. And where a lot of these people run into the problem is if they do not have an improvement district, they pretty much can't get financing.
That's right.
Unless the bank can finance it, and Fannie Mae will purchase the loan, but banks don't, because then they take on the liability that if Fannie Mae goes into if the property goes into foreclosure, and Fannie Mae loses money because of marketability, and usually what happens in downturns, and this has really come to light since the 2008 financial crisis. And where this comes into light is you don't have just one foreclosure on that street. You have 10, and let's say you have 20 owners. And all of a sudden, then you've got a real problem with maintaining the roads. Well, people aren't going to buy those things, or they're going to discount considerably in order to take the risk of buying in a subdivision where the roads aren't maintained. So, putting the carrot out there for people to form improvement districts, I applaud. There's no stick. All you do is you tell everybody that has those improvement districts, hey, why should we collect money from our people? We'll just go to the county every 3 or 4 years. We'll get the money and they'll pay for half of it. So, I'm against it because you gotta have the stick out there. I don't think we've got the money to do it in the first place. But second of all, there's nothing in this that says, okay, all right, once you form that improvement district, you have to prove to us that before you come back for funds, that you are collecting from your homeowners. And I'm talking about the property owners. I'm not talking about the tenants. And that you are making an effort to improve your roads, as opposed to all of a sudden now we have a welfare system for county roads.
Yep.
And so, I'm against it. I don't think we have the money, and I don't think it solves the problem. Any questions?
Questions? Anyone? Thank you. And for the third and final time, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in opposition of the notice of intent to adopt rules governing county support for service districts to please approach the lectern.
My name is Judy Holthouse, 2025 South Cedar. Basically, I agree with everything that my husband just said. I'm also a real estate appraiser. fundraiser. The reason that I have such a hard time with this is because we have a lot of really good people that have formed the improvement districts. They assess the owners in those subdivisions $100 a year or $125 a year or whatever, and those homeowners in their subdivision are responsible to take care of their roads, and they do a really good job of it. We have a lot of subdivisions in this town that they accept the responsibility for the areas surrounding their home, for their private roads that they own, and that's wonderful. I don't think that it should be the county's responsibility and the taxpayers' responsibility, and that we should be burdened with paying for roads in other areas where they're too lazy to form an improvement district, or too lazy, or whatever, to go about the steps that all these other subdivisions have taken to maintain their roads themselves. I think there comes a time when you got to accept responsibility yourself. So that's why I'm against it. I think it should be these people's responsibility, and I don't think we should be giving a handout to these people. You know, we don't have the money. The county can't take care of their roads themselves. They're county roads that are designated county roads. I just don't think they should go around and willy-nilly be taking care of everybody else's roads.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Mrs. Holthouse? And again, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in opposition of the notice of intent to adopt rules governing county support for service districts to please approach the lectern.
Tracy Lamont, 9855 Crimson Dawn Road. I'm opposed to it because you need to take care of the roads you have, county designated roads. I use Ponderosa Lateral. I think it's County Road 507 as an example. There hasn't been any maintenance done on that road since it was built. There's also a partial with East End Road before it hits that junction, 506 and 507, it's on private property. That road's never been completed. I don't think we can justify $25,000 here or there or everywhere else. Star Wallow development on the mountain, those are all dedicated public roads, the subdivision roads, like all the rest of them up there. Those people, they got to pull their resources. People in 71 Construction Improvement District, Aspens, I think they did all the work back there. I don't know who developed that. They just paid to have their ready mix haul I don't know how many empty yards of gravel up there, and Hall's Paving was hired to do the spreading of it. But they took care of it themselves. And, you know, I have a packet of information here I was going to pass out. But, you know, I know you're short of money. And who isn't? We're filming the pencil big time. I'm going to pass a packet out in public session. So, but it gets back when I was here the last time. I'd really like to speak with you guys in a work session. But you know what? I've identified, I'll just tell you here verbally, for $99,000 on a biathlon project. Still haven't got a straight answer.
Mr. Lamont, could we please stick to the
I will. This is on point, okay? This is putting money back into the county roads. And I'll stop at that. But I think you need to be tightening up your bootstraps, looking where your money's going, what you've been spending it on. Get back on track with 1% money, and get out here and improve the roads that you have. I think Mike Hager's doing a good job with the budget that he's allocated. But he needs more money. Gravel's going up, cost of fuel's going up to produce it. So I think a subdivision, or a guy that develops a subdivision, sells those properties, he sold them in good faith, people bought those properties, knowing that they weren't going to have a county out there maintaining the roads. Let them form their own districts, their own cooperatives. And I don't think you need to go to the expense of having Heather and whomever else, you guys putting assessment districts together. And let's take care of the county roads that we have. Let's get on top of them. And we'll go from there. So thank you for your time.
Any questions for Mr. Lamont?
Mr. Chairman, I guess I do. You know, before the public comment is closed, and we might get some comments about this, I looked at this sheet, and Tracy, you talked about putting money into our county road. And I don't know whether, listening to the comments, I don't know whether people know where the 1 cent, we're just talking about the 1 cent money that was passed in the election.
We're not stupid.
When we put it out to the voters to whether they wanted to pass the 1 cent, the neighborhood road fund was in there, okay? And so we're in a little bit of a dilemma. It passed. So that means that we told people that we were gonna have a neighborhood roads project. Let me tell you where a little bit of this money, the 1 cent money, we figured was gonna be about $15 million. That covers 4 years. That's gonna be somewhat less because our 1 cent sales tax is coming down. But we had the neighborhood roads fund in there. We also had Poison Spider in there for $1 million to work on Poison Spider. We've got 33 Mile Road, 1 cent funds on 33 Mile Road at $1 million. We've got other gravel roads, which is gonna be Bates Creek. We're trying to do something on Willow Creek and the north end of Buffalo Creek and Lone Bear. That's $2.1 million over the 4 years. So over the 4 years in the neighborhood road project, and this money could as much as $1 million for the neighborhood road project. But you've got to remember too that this was past Rotary Park. It's $100,000. The biathlon, we gave a little 1 cent money to the biathlon.
Gave a lot.
Bear Trap Meadow, the structures up there to have structures for the band shell. Total for parks, that was 135. Total for parks was 735. This is what was in our 1 cent proposal when it went out to the voters. And the voters passed this. So we have some obligation to do what we said we were going to do. Now, there's been a lot of comments about we need to spend money on the roads. Well, I just told them we're going to spend $1 million on Poison Spider, $1 million on 33 Mile Road, and 2.1 for other roads in the county. But we spend money on all kinds of things. The tower, safety tower, communications tower at Alcova, $400,000.
Wyoming Medical Center.
Selenium mitigation, which doesn't mean a whole lot to people in Casper, but it means a whole lot to those county residents, $400,000. Talked about community action partnership, $350,000 over the 4 years. These are all over 4 years. So the library, and not all people use the library, a lot of them do. The total for the library materials is $1.7 million, and this is all 1 cent. The computers for the library, $132,000. Life safety issues, we need to do something with some life safety issues down there. That's $2.6 million for the library. So all of this was put out to the voters and voted on, and it was an affirmative vote. So it's not like we're doing everything for neighborhood roads. And this is also kickstarting them. You mentioned, work with them to get a district set up. That's what we vision these. We aren't just going to give it to them.
What constitutes a neighborhood road?
It's a road that's dedicated to the public, but is not deemed a county road for our purposes.
That would be like a subdivision.
It's not a dedicated, that's what I was looking for. It's not a dedicated public road, but it's in subdivision.
So
it was mentioned here a minute ago, like Andy Lane and Renana, some of those roads. Those would fit up there, but they are not dedicated public roads. But in this 1 cent program, and you got to remember, those people pay into the 1 cent too. You know, that fifth penny, they help pay that too. And so it would be, we aren't gonna give them the money, they have to set up a sewer, or an improvement district. They have to do that. And we'll help them, which there's a number of $5,000 to help with the legal fees, not Heather, but with the legal fees to do that within their neighborhood. And all this is gonna do is kickstart a process for them to take care of their roads.
So that'll be in the form of an assessment on their annual tax?
That's up to them, but yes, that's the way that works.
If they want to organize within that neighborhood.
And we aren't gonna do it for neighborhoods that are already up and going, depending on how much money there is. But this is an effort to help kickstart their program in those communities.
The bottom line is that the money where the mouth is, if they want to come up with an material, that's beginning to make more sense.
And it was mentioned that we want to put the wording in there 50-50 match. So yes, we put up to $25,000 in of 1 cent money, not our budget, but of everybody's 1 cent money. And it would up to $25,000 a year. They put in $25,000 a year, and then pretty soon they have a road.
Yeah, 10 people do.
And they've helped themselves. So that's what we're really talking about here. We're not talking about giving our budget money that you've all helped us collect, you know, that you've all paid for. We're talking about that icing on the cake money, that 1 cent money. That's what we're really talking about. And I didn't know before the public comment closed, I wanted to bring that up.
I appreciate that. I have a tough time hearing back here. The acoustics in this room are terrible.
Yeah.
I'm a hard-headed guy, can't hear. But one question, I cleared what the handouts, and handouts were great back there if you had time to read them. But the county roads, they're still going to stay the way they are. You know, that was kind of clouded in my mind with some of the information I read. That program just stays status quo, right? Whatever money you have to prioritize, and Mike's got his budget to work with to try to get out and maintain whatever he can. And like you said, the cream on the crop here from the 1% money, if you got monies left over, you can go out and try to prioritize those. So I was out of the loop with your list that you had on your shopping list. I'd like to see that shopping list that you put together. A lot of that was out in the form of a survey, didn't it?
Well, during the process, yes, it did, but then this was right before the election, this was put to the public.
Okay.
And numerous community oriented meetings, and the roads came out at the top of the list. And within that, those 1 cent funds, of the $15 million that Ron is talking about 5.2 million of that are going to roads. So roughly a third of it is going to roads.
The lion's share, guys' budget goes to the road and bridge department, isn't it, overall? How much?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I just, one last thing on point of clarity to help you sell it a little bit is, you know, when you start talking private neighborhoods versus basically a subdivision, it's a county subdivision. We got into this on discussions on the mountain because everybody wants to lock up a road, and it's a subdivision road. And technically, we got into this when I negotiated all the snowmobile trails back in the 80s. And if it was a bona fide subdivision, then they were bound to have to leave that road open to the public. Even though they were maintaining it, that gave us the ability to go in and burn on all of those roads, because they had been dedicated for public use before. When you look at the rules and regulations on plotting a subdivision, that's right in front of them. We also ran into that when we were fighting the bread trail issue. The family was trying to shut that down, and one of my cohorts in the parks department had it blocked. And you know, those were all dedicated subdivisions. And I think if maybe change the wording on this, you have to act on this tonight. I know you've advertised.
We would have to start all over, because there's a 45-day notice.
The reason I asked
Well, let's
for
start over.
is you know, there are a lot of people in my position. You know, I'd have to stand over on the other side of the table now and say, you know, I think this is a good deal where you're headed, if it's managed properly. And I don't think a lot of people fully understand it, but everybody's concerned about revenues right now. I know you guys are too. You pick up the paper every day, and now in Cheyenne, it's a disaster. I read an article about the city of Cheyenne getting together with the other elected officials, and they're in denial. But we've been through this before when we crashed back in the early 80s, so I don't think you guys are consistent at all. But I'm going to reverse from an opposition. I probably get shot by a few people in the room, but I think I understand it better.
No, he doesn't.
I think it needs to be sold a little bit better on what you're doing. And like I said, the proof in the pudding, how many of these people in those subdivisions or neighborhood owning up to 25,000, they got to do that each year, right?
No.
Just one time?
They can bank those dollars, but the commission has the option, if the funds are available, of giving, they have to reapply in subsequent years, so they can bank those dollars. So if their project is 100,000, after 2 years, the county has come up with 50, they have come up with 50. Now, as part of that, and we would strongly recommend that they do it through an assessment as opposed to going and knocking on your neighbor's door to try to raise. That doesn't work very well. Has a history of not working very well. But you do have that option of either, because these improvement districts have a taxing authority. They can tax themselves, and either a flat amount or a percentage or a mill, whatever they want to do. That's totally up to them.
It's just like in the city, if the curb needs replaced and they decide to come on and assess everyone to improve the street or the curbs, it's basically the same. I think that's a good deal. You know, provided you don't have to rob from the county road maintenance fund that's there for that purpose. And I'll close with this. The best example you have is the culprit, folks. Now, you got 12, 13 pounds out there, nothing left. Because of the fire truck activities and what have you, I've read that. I've been watching that Coal Creek fire help thing. And those people, bless their heart, they bonded together, did everything they could to help their neighbors. There's a lot of roads out there in pretty rough shape. You know, it's all sand in the first place, and they probably were never set up with any base to go along with. And they start raising and waving arms. Well, they aren't here to help us. They helped us put the fire out, but no one's here to fix the roads. There's a good example where they need to come up with an improvement district. But that's an exception to the rule right now. I mean, we blade fire trails on the mountain, and I'm not knocking it. I'm a benefactor of that. We do it all over the county. We send graders out to help put out fires. Their fire's out, they're needing some help. I mean, the rotor truck, I got a picture of that on Facebook. My good friend Bill Snyder, they're stuck in the sand out there. That would be an exceptional case. And that would be a discretionary call that you'd have to work out with Mike and the 5 of you guys. And I think you got some slush funds you can work on that with. But I've said enough. I appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Before the public meeting closes, I'm just going to let everybody know that we had anticipated $15 million, $15.7 million and 1 cent in the next for the 4-year period. The first 3 months of this year were almost 20% off of what we collected last year.
Even more
We've told everybody already that we're probably only going to have 90% of what they anticipated in their 1 cent allocation. By the time we get it, it may be 20, it may be 30, I don't know, but they do know that that is 1 cent, and we have no control over that. So they may get less than we anticipated. But whatever we said we were going to give to the voters to pass the 1 cent, I think we need to do it.
Nope. You're wrong.
Okay, for the third and final time, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in opposition of the notice of intent to adopt rules governing county support for service districts. Please approach the lectern.
I have a question. Do you want me to approach? Okay. my question to you would be, who determines who's going to get these funds, and based on what?
And it's, all of that is in this document. And we are not changing, technically, we're not changing anything. What we're doing is establishing rules that will qualify you for those dollars. And that will be up to this board and our road and bridge superintendent. So while we're not asking them to build the road to county standards, we're not going to say, okay, you can go out and push some sand around with a blade for a week, and here's your $5,000. Our road and bridge superintendent will have to go out and say, guys, you've not gained anything by doing that. You need to bring some base in, at least this much because of the type of soil. That's what we have a road and bridge superintendent for, is to make those advisories.
I understand that, but I guess back to my question is, you guys are going to decide who's the neediest for this money?
Yep.
Yes.
Based
on what?
Based on the criteria that's set out in the rules.
That's 2 kisses
Available
ass
funding,
fest.
number of citizens affected by the project, funding of service district, in other words, they've got to come up with their share, and how are they going to do that? Likelihood of successful completion of the project and impact of the project. That's all right within the rules. That's all right there.
Okay, and then you guys make that determination?
Yes. So when they come to us with their application, they need to answer those questions. They need to tell us how they're going to do that.
Are you prepared for an overload of people coming with this issue?
So far, I believe we have 3 areas or already established improvement and service districts who have inquired. So as soon as these rules are adopted, then they will be able to apply. Now, will there be an onslaught of people? I doubt it.
I'm not so sure how many people even know that this would be available.
And what we have done is we have our road and bridge department, when people call and ask about their neighborhood, they have, I'll call it a cheat sheet that spells out some of these rules, what the neighborhoods can do. So when people call in and want their neighborhood road worked on, we have a method or a mechanism by which we can inform people, here's what you can do to help yourself.
It's crap, isn't it?
And for the third and final time, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in opposition of the notice of intent to adopt rules governing county support for service districts to please approach the lectern.
I have one quick question. Is there, okay, say somebody applies and the funds are available and the roads gets fixed and they set up their district. 5 years from now, they decide, well, roads are okay, we don't need to be collecting money anymore, even though we have this vehicle in place, we decide not to do it. Is there any stick out there that's, when they come back again for more money, that says, you guys didn't comply, so we're not gonna help you out this time, because we helped you out last time, but now here you are back at the well again. Is there any criteria that anticipates that type of habitual, for the lack of a better word?
And once again, it's within the rules that are being proposed here tonight. So if they don't, it's up to this board to say, hey, you didn't live up to it. Sorry. How can you assure us that you're going to do what you told us when you didn't last time? Okay. So they're going to have that obstacle to overcome with this board.
Okay.
And to get out of an improvement district is a little tough to dissolve that. You got to have a vote of the members, just like you did when you went in. And so it's a little tougher to just say, okay, we're gonna dissolve it and not do it.
I'm talking about the, improvement district that votes every year on how much to assess their members. It could be $1, it could be $1 million. So if they don't collect enough in order to keep their back to zero, keep their roads continually maintained, then you guys have a vehicle by the fact of will approve you or won't approve you, what, based upon your track record. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
One quick hypothetical
Jesus
question.
Christ.
It hit me here, can a well-run drive, let's say you have 100 subdivisions, just come flying in here, or neighborhoods. Now, they get organized fast, get X amount of dollars set aside over here for matching funds out of the 1% money, they could break the bank, couldn't they?
No, if funds are available.
So it boils down first come, first served, right?
Yes, it does. And based on need.
And you guys balance that right along with mine. Okay. So otherwise you want to have some frivolous spending in a neighborhood that doesn't need it. So, okay. I missed that. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question for you.
Okay.
On the page 2 on the proposed rules where you have under section 4 the general provisions on Mr. Chairman, on subparagraph A, you have the $5,000 legal costs associated with the formation of an Argent Service District. As I read that, to me, when I read that, and directly in the context of B below it, there would be no matching funds required for the $5,000.
That was the amendments suggested by staff.
Okay.
Up to, and on B, she said, to be used as a 50-50 matching fund.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I understand the matching funds, I think. That may clarify.
Well, but we had to clarify 50-50 also. That's what we were missing, and I was kind of determined that.
So, Mr. Chairman, so there is no match required with A?
No.
Just up to?
Correct.
And then the 25, you clarified matching, you further clarified that said matching is 50-50 match. And the third question I had then is, between A and B, is there an or and an and? Can they, are they subject to both of those? So excuse me, let me rephrase that, Mr. Chairman. So they could get $5,000 and then come back with the project and get up to $25,000 if they have $25,000 in matching funds. Okay.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, may I?
You may reapproach. We've got several other people, so I'll allow you to.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be brief. Paul Pat, 2781 Cherokee Lane. I guess I would direct this to Mr. Henry and to the board in general as far as when you're looking at making this laundry list, try to get a 1 cent tax passed, and you create this laundry list of things that this could be used on. I guess my question is really, do you really think that that laundry list of the wish list, if you will, that you present to the voters ahead of time, that you really feel, is that something you really feel obligated to make every single one of those things have some kind of money come towards them? Or is this just, the way I look at that is more like, okay, this is what we can use this at, providing the funds are there. I don't think that, personally, I don't see that as a commitment. I guess maybe the board is seeing that as a commitment. Are you presenting this in advance of the election? Is that correct?
I do see it that way. As a commitment that we made in an effort to get word out to the public that this is what we're going to do with those dollars.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Henry.
Mr. Pad, we told the voters that voted on the 1 cent what we had anticipated to do with the money. If suddenly we say, well, we're going to cut this out and this out, Now, if we cut it down because of lack of money coming in on the 1 cent, but we keep the program, we've told the voters we were gonna do that. So if you don't adhere to what you said you were, particularly on the 1 cent, they won't pass that again, and then you've lost support. You've lost support for the other roads. You've lost support for the library. Is that a 1 cent? You've lost a lot of the niceties that we have here in this community that 1 cent pays for. So I think we have to.
So basically, it behooves you to make as long a list as possible so you can get as many votes as possible, because everybody's going to say, well, I like this, but that I really don't care about. So basically, you're saying, well, the longer the laundry list, the more votes you can garner on that. One quick question on this. If this passes, and it certainly looks like you're going to do that, when the county starts contributing funds, services and such to building these roads, I mean, and you already stated they're not going to have to be built to county specifications. Am I correct on that? Okay. What happens, or what liability is the county taking on for any incidents or whatever? Somebody drive along and they fall through a culvert because that road wasn't built worth a darn. You know, I mean, does the county's liability, does the county hold any liability for accidents or incidences that may occur on this privately owned road that the county has now funded half of?
I'm going to defer to our county attorney on that question.
Thank you, Mr. Pat. Within the rules, we have tried to specifically invoke our governmental immunity and you know, indicate that we do not feel that we have any liability. And I haven't looked recently at the Governmental Claims Act, but I believe that there may be some protection for us there when it comes to the construction and maintenance of roads. And I could be wrong, but I'm thinking that that is a possibility of coverage for the county.
Well, I guess what my concern is if we're building a road to where, okay, we're saying we're building it so we can have emergency vehicle access, and all of a sudden that emergency vehicle goes in there and, I don't know, somebody dies because the ambulance can't get in there because something happened to the road, or they slid off the edge because the shoulder wasn't built, I mean, whatever the case may be. I mean, you know, are they going to come back and say, well, you know, you're 50% liable, you paid for 50% of it, and you oversaw it because you have the, you know, road and bridge actually overseeing it. You have Mr. Hendry overseeing this project. That's approving it, correct?
And while we were putting this together, that question came up.
Okay.
And the answer from Mr. Knight at that time was, no, we do not have any liability connected with this. The county does not.
Okay. All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
And for the third and final time, we would ask those individuals who wish to speak in opposition of the notice of intent to adopt rules governing county support for service districts to please approach the lectern.
Judy Jones, 335 North 8 Mile. I just got a quick question. How many people need to be involved before you can form a service district? Is there a minimum or a maximum? I didn't see that anywhere in that paper.
Judy, I think it's 60%.
Yeah, but 60% of what? Say like a road has 5 people that live on it. So you gotta have 4 of them go along with this to it.
And each one has its own criteria, and Heather may know more about this.
About 3 out of 5 would be 60%.
Okay, secondly, what would prevent someone who has, say, 2 people that live on that road and they're kind of well off, they've got a little money themselves, and both of them want to have the county help foot half the bill for that road for themselves, private road. What provisions are going to be in place to make sure that these 10 roads, this $250,000 going to cover 10 roads at $25 and $25 a pop, right? I mean, 10 of them. What's going to keep private people from doing it for themselves? What's in place for that? I didn't see anything in there that says, you know, hey, if you're it's your private road and there's only 1 or 2 of you on it, you guys are coughing up after your money, then you're excluding somebody else for them. How are you gonna prioritize that to where it's not just the rich getting their private roads done?
At the current time, it's first come, first served.
Gee, that answers everything, doesn't it? I mean, that's
But
the very point of why I'm here tonight to object to this.
it's still up to this board to approve it. And if-
Well,
if
you know,
it
you
doesn't
guys
make
aren't real
sense-
trustworthy these days.
and if
I
it
mean, the
doesn't-
last 10 years, you guys have done a lot of things. And I think it's time you guys get back on the straight and narrow here. And that doesn't sound like straight and narrow to me. That sounds like you're being special interest. And that's my opinion on it. Thank you.
Are there any other others who wish to speak in opposition to the notice?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Just for clarification, I don't see anywhere in the rules where it's discussing that this is the 1 cent funds only. In section 5, it discusses the administration. It says Board of County Commissioners may budget funds when available, but nowhere does it say they're talking about the 1 cent funds specifically. And then secondly, your neighborhood roads comment, Mr. Hendry, and Commissioner Hendry, I would say there's multiple county designated roads that service neighborhoods that could be considered, that need maintained at this point, that would be considered doing the work that you discussed for neighborhood roads. I don't think that you necessarily have to go right into the middle of a neighborhood to consider improving a neighborhood road. I think you can do it within your existing county designated roads and still be meeting that edict from the voters to improve neighborhood roads. So my main question though is, where does it state in these rules that we're simply discussing the 1 cent funds versus the entire county road budget?
It does not say that in these rules.
That's
So
right.
that's an implied thought that you would use those when funds available in that section, it would be 1 cent funds. So based on the next election, if the next commission was sitting here before us, whoever that may be, they could use entire road and bridge funds to fund this, not just 1 cent. Since it's apparent the 5 of you feel it should be just 1 cent funds. By passing these rules, unless they go back and redraw these rules to specify as 1 cent only, the next board can certainly make it all road and bridge funds go towards this program.
It's called a nice big fat loophole.
Necessarily the edict of the voters for the 1 cent fund, and so that's why I think these rules are falling short. That goes to my second point of there are plenty of county roads that service neighborhoods that are in need of improvement. So I appreciate you listening to my comments.
So,
I'll have an amendment to it.
okay. And I'm just looking where that would plug in.
Number 3, section 3.
Or under the, well, okay, yeah.
So financial support from 1 cent funds, if available, to improve public roads.
Thank you for clarifying.
Thank you.
And
Yes, sir.
and this was what didn't get on the air when I had my comments with Channel 13 is, yes, the county owns these roads. They are dedicated to public use. However, within those plats, it specifically says on the majority of those plats, the county is not responsible for the maintenance. So this is an attempt to, as Rob said, kickstart those neighborhoods to get some of those roads into a shape where they can get up and down.
And that would go right back to my opposition to this.
Yep.
On the plat, it specifically says, as you just quoted, these are not to be maintained by the county, and now you're trying to change what that plat says to a different rule to say, now we'll help you maintain those. And me as a landowner, as somebody that purchases a property, I know what I'm getting into, and I know whether I'll be responsible for maintaining those roads, whether I'll be responsible to participate in a special service district, and I'll be assessed a mill levy of some kind to help maintain those roads. As the purchaser of a property, I know what I'm getting into going in. And then if I buy it and suddenly don't like it, now the county is supposed to bail me out. It all comes back to my opposition to this. The county has plenty, I forgot to bring the numbers, but they have 900, 1,100 miles of road in NATRONA County. And a lot of those, as has been discussed, discussed earlier in the evening, are in poor to less than poor condition. And yet you're willing to go out and spend money on other roads outside of the number of miles you already have. Let's stick with the first set of roads you have before you start to expand the number of roads you're willing to take care of. So that's my concern, as it has been all evening. I thank you for clarifying and offering to listen to the amendment about designated as 1 cent only, but I still think there's plenty of county designated roads that are servicing neighborhoods that could use a lot of work before you start to expand the number of miles of roads you have in the county. Thank you. Any further questions?
Very good. For the final time, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in opposition of the notice of intent to adopt rules governing county support for service districts to please approach the lectern. There being no one or no others to speak for or against the notice of intent to adopt rules governing county support for service districts, I now declare this public hearing closed. I would entertain a motion to pass the notice of intent to adopt rules governing county support for service districts.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Hendry.
I would move that we pass the rules governing county support for improvement in service districts with the additions that legal has put in.
Which are?
That was roadways up to 5,000, up to 25, the 50-50 match in 7 public meetings, and then number 9 would be taken out. Did I get all of those? Then I would also add in section 3 a proposal to add from 1 cent funds if available. And that would read, the primary purpose of this program is to provide financial support to, comma, from 1 cent funds if available to improve public roadways within NATRONA County.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
Is there any discussion? Commissioner Stauber?
I'll start it off. I guess I'll start off with a couple questions. Commissioner Hendry, since you listed all those fine ones, I guess benefits, how many voters that voted for the 1 cent voted for the library?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, how many voted for the 33-mile road improvement? How many voted for Poison Spire? So you don't know. You don't know how many voted for the neighborhood road. So you have no idea.
Who you made promises to.
There's no way to prove. So there's, you know, throwing those out there, I mean, that's all fine and dandy, but, you know, there's really no way to say what the reason the voters voted for the 1 cent.
Well,
Correct? I'm not saying that the neighborhood roads project was not promised. I'm just saying there's no way to ascertain why they voted the way they did.
the only thing you can say is that it passed.
Correct.
And
Don't make it
this
sound like
is what
something
we
else.
put out
Correct.
to an affirmative vote.
Absolutely.
So is it up to us to pick and choose now?
When you say neighborhood roads, do you think
Well-
people thought you were talking about private roads?
Well, maybe we can get back to that.
Of course not.
I guess I should have asked for the floor, Mr. Chairman.
In all the time that I have spent on this, and I have spoken to literally hundreds, every time I go through a checkout line, at the grocery store, at Menards, at Home Depot, I'll take the opportunity to ask them, give me your opinion. I have yet to come across one person who is in favor of this. I spoke to even one of my friends who happens to be an attorney. It is not in any way, shape, or form Senator Perkins. His comment to me, I actually used to work with him, believe it or not. His comment to me, and these are his words, you have to expect something crooked like this to come out of the 1 cent program in order to get all the good things that come out of the 1 cent program. And that kind of bothered me. And it's this kind of, I guess, attitude that is why the 1 cent program has problems, or the 1 cent tax has problems every time it comes up. And that's where the citizens have issues with it. Friday, I was told that I am confused about the issue that pertains to this. I'm not confused at all. These are private roads. I'm going to defer to the chairman, and by all means, please give me a plat. I've got the computer warmed up over there. Tell me a plat that I can pull up on the computer that says that these are county roads, because they do not belong to the county. Most plats that I have found say that they belong to the people that live there. The roads go out to the middle of the road and belong to the homeowner.
And in response to that, there has been our previous county attorney, our current county attorney,
Okay.
our current assistant county attorney, who all agree that these roads, we have the same rights on these roads as though they were fee simple. So
I'm not
own them. They do belong to the county. So there are roads, however, those plats do allow for public access in many cases, some do not. But the qualification is also within many of those plats that the county will not maintain them.
Okay. My comment, my question is, the plats do not state that the county owns them. Your statement earlier tonight was that the plats indicate that the county owns the roads. My question is, give me a plat, which I can pull up on the computer right now, that says that. I'm just asking for one.
I don't recall that I said that the county owns them.
Just now.
But we do have the same rights as
I agree.
though they are fee
Absolutely.
simple.
I agree. We do have access. The public has access to the roads. You know, it's no different than a parking lot. It's dedicated to public access. We absolutely have the right to drive on it. We have the right to park on it if we need to. We absolutely do. I am absolutely not confused about it. Where I have an issue with this is that we are using public money to care for private roads. And to be quite honest with you, over this Alcova Bridge, and I'm going off topic here for a second, I have taken the blame. Quite honestly, there are a lot of people that want to blame the director of Road and Bridge for the Alcova Bridge issue, and I have said, look, if you're looking for somebody to blame, I'll take the blame. Fine, blame me. It's my fault. I'm to the point that, you know what? I'm not willing to do that anymore. The idea that we are taking money that, and yeah, we are putting a lot of money towards roads. Commissioner Hendry, I agree. But when we're gonna take money and we're gonna start spending it on roads that do not have the pretty blue sign or the NATRONA or the number, I have a problem with it. It seems unethical. Now, there are some people that say, well, it may be unethical, but it's legal, and they're okay with that. I'm not. Unethical and legal belong in the same bucket. I can't separate those. There's a couple other issues I have with this. You know, the rules say that we have the choice to approve or disapprove, or not approve, I guess you would say, not disapprove, not approve applicants as they come up for this, I'm going to call it a grant, or matching grant, I guess we could call it. And Madam County Attorney, I could be wrong, but it sure, it doesn't, if somebody comes up and they meet all the criteria and we say no, even though we gave money to somebody else, if they meet the criteria and we tell them no, I think we're going to get sued. Because they have met our criteria. And once we start opening up our checkbook for any private road, I guarantee you, it's a trip down the rabbit hole that we don't want to go on. Because it's never going to stop. And can this be abused? I think it can.
Absolutely.
I really do. And I think it can be abused by the two well-to-do people that live on a road that want to do their, I don't know how much pavement you can get done for $50,000, probably about, what, 20 feet, but heck, why not? Why not have the county pitch in for 10 feet of it? I don't know, I don't think this isn't the way to go. I mean, I don't have a problem, actually, I have absolutely no problem doing this if all of our county roads are taken care of. But when we have 140 miles of paved roads in this county, and 133 miles of them are poor, very poor, where the pavement is missing, and that's just on the paved roads?
Yeah, no kidding.
Come on. We got other things we can spend our money on. And nobody says we have to spend it. Let's put the money away. We got an economic downturn. And with these rules, we're using county employees. What about the private employees? We're taking money from them and away from a private contractor, and we're going to use county employees, county equipment. I mean, we're basically triple dipping from the county, and we shouldn't. I just, this is bad on so many levels. And with that, I yield.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Commissioner Hendry?
I'm just thinking, didn't the 1 cent vote pass by like 70%? That was about the percentage.
By the largest margin ever, yes.
And by the largest margin ever. You know, we aren't spending our regular budget. And Steve, these roads, you keep talking about private roads. We aren't, as far as I'm concerned, we're not going to spend any money on a private road. The only roads that, in my opinion, are this program is the roads that say on the plats, dedicated to the public.
I'm gonna hold you to it.
And the subdivisions out there that have been approved, those roads on the plats say dedicated to the public, that roadway into that subdivision. And those are the kind of roads that I'm looking for. I don't want, and I'm not gonna spend it on a private road. If it's dedicated to the public and it serves people down that road, and they're 1 cent, they pay taxes like everybody else. See what, and you haven't been on the commission a long time, but every year we get people in here complaining about their road that's dedicated to the public. And because it is not a dedicated public road, we don't go out and work on it.
No kidding.
And they would like some help. This is a way to help them. But in my opinion, it's got to be a road that's dedicated to the public.
Right, right.
And our
Yeah.
road and bridge,
Yeah.
you know, I think road and bridge's budget is like $7 or $8 million, something like that. And then plus, that's just their regular budget. Plus the almost $4 million that we're putting into road out of the 1 cent. So anyway, that's just an answer to some of that. But I do not want to spend it on private roads. And under this, we have the obligation to not do that on it. And it's up to this board to approve those, so we do it along the way.
And the only paragraph 9, support administration, that referred to county road and bridge involvement has been taken out.
Oh, I stand corrected.
And with that,
Mr.
Commissioner
Chairman.
Dawson?
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question of
Well,
Mr. Hendry, because he made a statement?
Let us hear from the other commissioners if they have any questions.
It's a big hurry.
You yield.
I've got a comment.
Go ahead.
You said that it allows us to help people. What about Renana, Andy, and that area? They're not part of the service improvement district. They're some of the worst roads in the entire county. They're not gonna get help.
Nope.
Chances are they're not gonna become part of a service improvement district, because the majority of the people up there are renters.
Then we're not going to have a sewer, then we're not going to have an improvement district.
Exactly.
Well, no kidding.
So we're not gonna help them. So, Madam County Attorney, does that put us at a risk of a lawsuit for discrimination against economically disadvantaged people? Not at all?
Oh,
I think this is.
beg to differ.
Described it is a grant program, so, it's a discretionary program.
I think, Mr. Chairman, I really hope they do. I mean, it would help that road.
A landlord is not gonna cut into his bottom line and become a member of a service improvement district to, honestly, if I were a businessman, would I do it? Probably not.
Nope.
And those are some of the worst roads in the entire county.
There's a few of them, Salt Creek Heights, that are a little worse. They got the pipeline showing.
Well, that's Andy.
Well, gee, let's spend the money on shit we don't need done.
Down below the hill.
Yes.
Pretty tough. Midwest Heights, yeah.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lawson? Commissioner Keegan?
Yeah, thank you for your time. You know what, it concerns me. I mean, we've had conversations, and I guess we're gonna have to agree to disagree in the past about the difference. We on our obligations for roads in the county, it is very much my opinion that we have more obligation to a road that we have adopted as commissioners and a county road. We do not own a private road that developers are doing. We do not own a public road. that a developer has put in. There is a distinct difference. Although maybe Commissioner Schlager hasn't been on the commission as long as some others, but he got it right.
Yep.
You know, and although I have a tremendous amount of faith in Mr. Hagler, Heather Road and Bridge, this entire program and the quality of the work that's going to be done is dependent on him. What happens if he decides to move on or retire? You know, then the program and its application is only as good as the gentleman that's using his discretion, applying the road funds. So these are just some of my concerns. Rob, I always want to do my best to keep my word. And times are changing, and I do understand that the county commission has a tremendous amount of discretionary ability on where we spend funds, from the 5 elected officials to whatever, down to 1 cent. I think if we were to defer these funds towards the needs of actual county roads, or even the 3 major bridges that we have a need to repair, I think would be a better part of these monies being dispersed, and I think we would be keeping our word there. So I'm not in support of this tonight.
Commissioner Lawson.
I haven't said too much this evening. I think that Commissioner Hendry made a strong case with regard to what the thought process was at the time that this was proposed to be a 1 cent item and brought forward. I was not on the commission at that time. Mr. Keating was on the commission at that time. I would ask you, do you take issue with what the Commissioner Hendry laid out as far as thought process of bringing that forward onto the 1 cent and that as a proposal by the commission at that time as what would be expended for the 1 cent?
I don't take issue with it, but what I am saying is the county commission has a discretionary ability to allocate the funds. Roads was number 1, and I think if the money is deferred towards roads, bridges, including the Alcoa Bridge, I think we would have kept our promise.
And this is not an easy subject, and I respectfully disagree a little bit and concur with Commissioner Hendry when it comes to the 1 cent, when it comes to the general funds, and you're definitely right. When the 1 cent list was developed, it was provided to the public, and input was received from the public by the commission. It was more of a commitment that, to some extent, funds for the 1 cent would be expended for the items that Mr. Hendry read off on the list. And so I have to say that I think this kind of a discussion with regard to whether that should have occurred or not should have occurred during that 1 cent discussion before and during when it was going to the electoral at the time. So I would have to say that with a 70% support rate on that 1 cent, that a majority of the people, maybe pieces of it wasn't something that they thought they were going to directly benefit, but when they looked at the list and they said, I think this is a good list and I'm voting for it, and that's why it carried. Impossible, Mr. Slaughter, to decide how many of those people thought the library was a good thing versus the roads versus the other subjects. I don't, that's not possible. But so for those reasons, and not for me to belabor something that's already been stated, more eloquent than I've been stating, Although I do want to build on something that Commissioner Keating made, a statement is these roads are not county-owned roads. They're not county roads. By definition, in this resolution, is if you look at the definition of county road, it says here county road means a roadway which has been declared a county road by a resolution by the county commissioners and maintained by the county road and bridge department. Obviously, these public roads that we're talking about have not been declared a county road. So I'm not really arguing over the ownership of the property. I'm not arguing for it, but I'm not, I just want to make clear that what we're talking about is providing seed money and limited investment on a public road. That if this goes forward, and if they get an improvement district, that might be enough to encourage them to continue to maintain those roads on their own as an improvement district, and not necessarily come back and seek further funds from the county. And I think if they did come back and seek further funds from the county, I think that's at the point where the commission, wherever the commission is that time, could decide whether they were worthy of any further assistance. And again, I'm repeating some of the stuff that's already been spoken to tonight. So I would have to say, since I wasn't part of the development of that list, and that list was vetted to the public, and the public overwhelmingly voted for the 1 cent, which included all these on the list, I'm in support of staying with that commitment that Mr. Henry laid out.
Thank you. As for myself, most of the issues I've already spoken to, and I'm convinced that we do need to keep our promise to the public. And that was a promise that was made early on
No, it wasn't.
in the process, and was put out to the public, and it was passed.